Okay, real quick before we begin. One of the biggest issues I see with sisters who are looking for a spouse is they feel stuck and overwhelmed, unsure of how to find the right person while sticking to their Islamic principles. I mean, maybe you feel like you're fighting off your parents and you're struggling to just get married in 2025 with a modern yet still Islamic approach with hundreds of women like you. And I've distilled everything I've done into a spouse-seeking blueprint, totally free. Just click the link in the show notes or visit us over on our website. Let's start creating the marriage you deserve, inshallah. Do not marry a man who doesn't pray. Islamically, many mashaykh will tell you it's not even allowed. Number two, he's the leader of your family and doesn't even pray. So how's that going to be a Muslim home? It's not. The women call me every day crying about it after they're married, realizing how important it was, and they totally missed it. So caveat, like when I say faith, I mean prayer is just kindergarten level, and I hate to not demeaning anyone, but like that's bare bones. Welcome to the Mindful Muslimah Speaks podcast, a safe space to learn and grow into the best version of yourself that you're always meant to be. I'm your host, Mindful Muslimah, a mom of 5, big sister to the community, and a licensed educator with 25 plus years and supporting tens of thousands of Muslim women worldwide. Now, I'm excited to share a ton of solutions to your problems on love, relationships, life balance, reconnecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting back on track, and more. So grab a cup of coffee and close out those tabs. These next 20 to 30 minutes are all about you. Let's get started. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. I just want to start off the podcast saying thank you so much if you're a new listener for being with us. We are so honored that you have found us and you've made this your home. Welcome back. And if you are a longtime listener, we also want to say thank you so much for taking trust in us with your issues. And I want to give a really quick shout out to all the women who have been giving me tons of DMs about advice on marriages they're in or marriages they want to be in. I'm honored that you continue to look to us for your help. So inshallah ta'ala, I want you to think today about this situation that you're in where you're trying to figure out, I don't want to make a mistake. Is this guy really for me? Maybe there's something about him. Maybe he has great qualities, but he's just not showing up the way he was expected, the way you expected him to. Maybe there's just some things that are popping up that are just like, are we really aligned? Like it could be, you don't know if it's connecting with your values. You don't know if you're being picky. Like maybe people are telling you you're too picky. I hear that a lot. Or, you just don't want to make a mistake because you're not sure if there are things that are like big enough for you to really pay attention to. And I mean, what if the future that you have with him is not the same exact future he has in mind? And then you get surprised and don't find that out till later. That's a real thing. So you're not the only one who has had those thoughts, FYI. I got them from women who tell them to me all of the time, right? So that being said, the funny thing is about women is like we all go through stuff and we think we're the only ones going through that stuff. And we're not. We actually, when you get us all in the room and we start talking, we realize really quickly that we're all struggling with the same things. One of the things is like a lot of times when we get into the book club, you guys know we're doing book clubs, by the way. Shout out to the sisters in the book club. We're about to continue with our first one for the year. And I'll put a link below so you could sign up if you want. It's totally free. And the thing about connecting with each other is you feel like you're the only one, but you slowly find out we're all having the same thing. So let me help you out. There is an epidemic of divorce right now. The Muslim community is only at 50% divorce rate. Women are delaying marriage the longest they ever have, probably in history. And so point being, many women, if not most women looking for marriage, are struggling with trying to figure out if they should go through with a particular guy. I mean, especially when the attraction is undeniable, but will it actually pan out logically? And I mean, with valid concern, because compatibility isn't attraction alone. It isn't like, oh gosh, we like the same movies. It's, can we stick together long term? Can we endure one another enough to be with each other through the good times, the bad times, the icky times where you don't want him to see you crying, like the things that really matter in life. Are we going to last? Now, let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes I see sisters make all the time that I want to implore you, first of all, not to make. And it is getting attached emotionally. See, here's the thing. I get how it can happen, but it only happens when you start off in the wrong way. We've talked a lot in the podcast about the halal way of doing things. And if you're unsure, believe me, you need to know. Because when you start off with the thing where you're like dating and chatting and secreting, texting, all that stuff, like you go right ahead. Go right ahead, sis, and do that. And I'm not against whatever people want to be like, do me. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made the sunnah for a reason. And the truth is there's a way to get to know a guy without doing anything haram. There's a total way. We teach it every day. But what I want you to think about is the fact that when you get wrapped up that way, It's very hard emotionally once you figure out he's doing things that are not aligned to pull yourself out. That's really the reason, I mean, amongst many reasons Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has as to why we're not supposed to get in those types of situations. Emotionally, it's really hard to rip yourself away. I had a sister the other day, she called me and she was just like, I found out he talks to other women on Instagram. This whole time I thought he was like this and I thought he was like that. I'm like, cool. Well, is that a non-negotiable for you? She's like, 100%. I do not want a guy who chats with other girls online. I'm like, cool. What are you going to do about it? She's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, girl, that is a non-negotiable. What are you doing? And she's just like, I don't know, but like his family's like this and that. See, that is not a logical approach. That's her sucked in emotionally. And that's what happens. So, real lasting relationships have a solid foundation, shared values, shared goals, shared mutual respect. If you're going in another direction with that, be careful. Cracks start to form in the road, and those cracks turn into gaping holes where your car could like plunge in. Like, this is serious. We do not ignore those cracks. What kind of cracks am I talking about? I'm talking about misaligned goals, lack of emotional support, unresolved conflicts, him fighting with you and you're not even married yet. Like, I see it all the time, every day. And the reality is, if you don't just take a small amount of time, we're talking about a teeny weeny fraction of your life, to figure out if he's the one for you right now, you are making a grave mistake. Talking to myself before I'm talking to you, because I wish somebody told me that, then I wouldn't have married someone I end up divorced with 2 kids. So that is something I did after that. Said, hey, I'm going to invest myself into fixing this and learning. So if you think it's something like you're just going to figure out by watching some TikToks, reading a couple videos, it just doesn't work like that. I'm just going to be totally frank and clear. So let's talk about the 5 questions that you can ask to figure out if he actually is going to be right for you. Okay, let's go with the first one, which I've already alluded to, which is, does he align with your core beliefs? Like, are you guys on the same page? Or do you find most of the time you're just trying to bring him over to your side because you're not really aligned, but you wish you were? I see that a lot. Listen, you don't want to put too much work into a guy to make him what you want him to be. There's this saying that guys want women to stay the way they are when they marry them, and women marry men hoping they can change them. It's really true. Like, we see men that are missing key qualities that we need. We're just like, it's okay, we'll figure it out, I'll fix him. No, that's not how it works. And so you want to make sure from the beginning you guys have core qualities. And I want to throw a little like bonus in this one. If you can have him have a growth mindset, it is critical. We're teaching this in a workshop a couple months back, and we actually ended up making a downloadable on compatibility questions. And one thing that we made sure to put in, because we realized women wanted it and needed it more than they realized they needed it, is if a guy has a growth mindset. Why do you need to have that? Let me explain. So for example, I had a sister and I was helping her with her husband. And the fact of the matter is she was more like modern. She was from Paris and the guy was from back home. They were both Moroccan and he was from like back home in a village. And she was trying to get on the same page with him. But the truth is, like, he just was not in the same lane with her in terms of what he wanted to do. And she's like, he's stubborn. He's like a donkey. He won't move. And I'm just like, what you're really describing to me is a man who doesn't have a growth mindset. And if he doesn't have a growth mindset, he doesn't want to budge. He has a fixed mindset. And if you don't know what that is, we can go into that a whole nother time. But if you know, you know. And so subhanAllah, if you have a guy with a growth mindset, he's going to change and grow with you because he doesn't feel it's impossible. A guy who has a fixed mindset's like, I'm a late person. This is the way I am. I'm not a math person. Never will be. Like, that's a person who's not going to change no matter how you try to influence him. So if you find out he's not a growth mindset and he has flaws that you see as clear flaws and you marry him anyway, that's going to be a tough go. Just going to throw that out there. So you want to make sure you guys have the same thing. Let me tell you some questions you can ask about that. Does he have a growth mindset? Do you share common beliefs about religion? Now, here's one. When I ask sisters about like religiosity, yeah, he's religious, I'm religious, we both pray, we both eat zabiha, all that stuff. Okay, let me slow you down there. For the women who are finding men who don't pray, that is a common problem. Do not marry a man who doesn't pray. I'm going to say that loud and clear, and you could rewind the tape and you could listen again. Do not marry a man who doesn't pray. Islamically, many mashaykh will tell you it's not even allowed. Number 2, he's the leader of your family and he doesn't even pray. So how's that going to be a Muslim home? It's not. The women call me every day crying about it after they're married, realizing how important it was, and they totally missed it. So caveat, like, when I say faith, I mean prayer is just kindergarten level. And I hate to not demeaning anyone, but like that's bare bones. Okay. What I mean is you need to have the same faith, but get really smart about what does that mean. So when you say religious or yeah, I'm a practicing, like what does that mean? That can mean so many different things. I had a sister, she was somewhere in Canada. She said to me, like, we both said we were religious and we thought we were. But then I realized, like, I want to go to the gym and the gym's mixed. And he's like, oh no, it's a mixed gym. She's like, and I stay on the female side. I stay away from men. I cover completely. I don't talk to men. I put my earbuds in, listen to like Quran, a lecture, something, and I work out. And I'm like good to go. And he's like, no. And they got at it. And then there was another one where she was working. She wanted to go to like a function in her company. And there was going to be not even a party. It was just like a mixed gathering for that. And he was like, no. And she was like, what? And so they didn't realize it was going to be an issue till they're married. And guess what? Those fights are the biggest fights they have on a weekly basis. So like when I'm coaching her, it's just like me teaching her now how to talk him down, how to get into situations where she can express his feelings so he will listen. It is a tough go, as I said. So you want to make sure that you're asking yourself, are we really connected? Like, have we really figured out what does love mean to you? What does religion mean to you? Having a clear definition of what those things are. Is he actually living his faith the way I envision living faith looks like? Get clear, because the people who are not clear in the beginning are the people who struggle the most. Number 2, how does he handle conflicts? Is he a person that shuts down? Ask yourself this. Well, I've never really seen him in a conflict yet. Well, then how are you going to know? So test him out. I'm just joking. There was this imam, and I think I told this one time before. He used to invite, he was like an uncle, but he just happened to be a sheikh. And the girl wanted, his niece wanted to get married. So they intentionally like made the guy upset. They would make appointments and break them and make them and break them because they were just trying to see his real character. And the guy passed with flying colors. He was like, oh, qadallah ma shafa. Okay, Ammu, it's okay. I'll come next time. Please, are you sure, Ammu? Do you have to cancel? Okay, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. And he really handled it well. I mean, he could have been faking it, but this guy put him through a lot. Now, that is neither here or there if that's the thing to do. That is not my opinion. That is just something someone did. But it goes to say, I've heard a lot of people say, you need to see them in times of upset. Because up until then, everybody's just having their best face on. You included, me included. We're all human. That's what we do. So if you can see him that way, it's good. Does he listen to your side of the story? Does he try to understand your feelings? Do you feel like if you have had fights, does he actually listen and care? Does he say like, gosh, you look sad today. Are you okay? Or is he like, whatever? The way he's dealing with you now is the way he's going to deal with you later. It's not going to change. If it did change, it wouldn't be that much. I'm just going to say, take it at face value for what it is, because I say it like this. Let's pretend you did get married to him and there was a 50-50 chance that it wasn't going to get better. Would you still marry him? You know how many people tell me, no way. And then they do marry them. They do. And then they call me 6 months later married. I'm like, I made a mistake. So we have to just be a little bit smarter with that. Another thing that I hear women throw out a lot is gaslighting and narcissism. Now here's the thing. That is a real thing. We don't want to label everything as that, but it is happening, and it is happening in relationships. But I want to tell you something just a bit more scary. I'm noticing it happens a lot in relationships where the women feel traumatized by the men. Oh, he's gaslighting me. But if you look at that guy's house, it was so clear before y'all even got married that there was some toxicity in that home. So I want to bring it to the next level because we have this spouse seeking blueprint, right? In the blueprint, I talk about the 4 areas you must know, right, in order to get married. So the first one is you and you and him, you and the family, his family, your family. And then, the rules of engagement and everything of how you actually do stuff. How legit do you go on the apps? Do you show your picture? Do you share this with him? Should you talk to him alone? Like every question you ever had, right? The one on number 3, which is the family, is you can just look at his father and go, how does he deal with his wife? Is he caring, concerning, or does he treat her a kind of way? Does he throw out snide comments? Because I just want to tell you something. Even if you think he's not like his father, he's seen his father example a really long time. And most of us, we don't want to end up like our parents, but we do end up like our parents. Unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to say it. And at the end of the day, it happens. So if you don't like the way his father deals with his mother, I need you to investigate that. I need you to see his thoughts around marriage and his thoughts around the way his father treats his mother. It's just a little bonus tip because it is a window into how he might handle marital conflicts and hearing you out and respect. Number 3, does he encourage your personal growth, or does he want to keep you just the way you are and not see you change at all? And it's really flattering to hear someone be like, you're perfect just the way you are. But the truth is, maybe you don't want to be that person in 5 years. Is he open to your growth and your change? One of the biggest blessings in a marriage is that the two people help each other grow. You're there together to live together, to grow together, and, just make each other better. So ask yourself this question. Does he support your emotional growth, spiritual growth, physical growth? Is he wanting you to change as a person, get better? Is he encouraging you to go out and take classes for Quran or things like that? Or does he just want you home? Because what you don't want to do is put yourself in a situation where it's a controlling situation and he wants to keep you the way he wants to keep you so he can kind of have you lock and key. And as creepy as that sounds, is as creepy as it happens sometimes. So I'm just throwing it out there because it's really, really important. A lot of women will find it flattering, not realizing that it could be a red flag for something to come. And just throwing it out there, if he has a lot of that, it could be leaning into some insecurities he has or control issues that you do not want to fall prey to. The fourth question to ask is, are our goals and visions aligned? I know it's really easy to be like, yeah, we like the same things. Yeah, no. What I mean is, let's shift to the practical side of things. Marriage is something that's long-term and it gets really technical. Do we want the same things for kids? Do we want to raise the kids the same way? Do I want to do positive parenting and he wants to do, give him a licking, right? Like there could be a different approach and you don't realize it. How do you feel about this with kids? How do you feel about that? What do you think a good child looks like? One that's silent and doesn't, seen but not heard? Like, what are they thinking good looks like for a child, for a wife? Like, are we as aligned as we really think we are? What I find is most people graze over those things really quick, touch on them lightly, think they covered them, but there are huge flags they're missing. And that's why it's better to dive into it now than later. I want to scare him away. Can I be totally frank? You do want to scare him away. Because if you're talking to him about raising kids in a way that is different than the way you were raised, maybe you were like in a toxic home or an abusive home and you want to have better, and he's not up to that, and he's not into that, and he's just like, whatever, I'm gonna do the traditional thing, and you're not into that, please scare him away. Please let him go, because you don't want to find out later on that you have this situation where you're just peeling him off your kids all the time. I'm just gonna be totally frank. These are real things that are happening. So you have to do your due diligence and be totally okay to let him go if he doesn't align. Now, this one's a weird one, I know, for some women, because how do you actually determine this one? We're going to talk about it right now. Is he emotionally mature? You see, emotional intelligence was something that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had. Tabarakallah, everything that he did, he was well aware of people, like no matter what level they were. And what's funny? If he saw a widowed woman, he would talk to her slightly different than a woman who was, this type of education or this type of poverty. Like, he was always conscious of everybody's situations. And he didn't have one way of approaching things. He could have like 18 different ways, because he would read the room, read the situation, and meet the person where they are. So it's really important that you're able to be able to do that. And at some level, he's able to do that. But the truth is, emotional maturity is something like it's really hard to teach someone else, or it takes a really long time. So if he doesn't have it right now with you, you're going to struggle a lot. So let me tell you how you're going to struggle. Like, ask yourself, does he empathize with me and show understanding, or does he just give me the silent treatment when things get weird? Does he ghost me? Does he not text? Does he not answer back for hours and hours and hours after he knows he upset me, or days and days and days? I see this happen sometimes, right? Does he take responsibility for his actions? Is he willing to say, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't have done that, and then try to make it better? Or does he just avoid things, change the subject, not really ever give you closure on certain situations? Those are inklings. Those are windows into your marriage, hands down. People don't have those skills now. They don't miraculously develop them as soon as you guys put rings on and you sign a contract. It doesn't work like that, right? So you want to think about, what skills does he have before actually saying yes. Now, these questions, they are just scratching the surface. We have so much more to share with you. And if you want to hear more about it, we have a blueprint below, a totally free blueprint, spouse seeking blueprint, where we have put tons of additional pieces of advice that you definitely need to have. And we want to say, if you're feeling unsure about evaluating a guy, it's totally normal. It's your first time. I feel like a lot of women are really hard on themselves. But let me tell you the thing that I quickly learned. You only know what you know. You've never looked for a spouse before. You've never been married. To rely on your own understanding, I'm going to be honest, you're lacking a lot. Even if you're the smartest girl in the world, you have a high education, it's not the same thing. Let me tell you why. I could have 2 master's degrees, which I do, in particular fields of knowledge. Let's pretend it's education. Let's pretend it's like sociology or culture or mathematics or science. I could have those and be brilliant and not know how to crack an egg, boil some water, boil some pasta. I cannot know how to fix my bike when it's broken. I cannot know how to do a special code on the computer. We're talking about different fields of knowledge. Does that make sense? Because there's smart and then there's smart in everything. And not most people are not smart in everything. We have to humble ourselves. If this is a field of your life where you have no knowledge in, and then you're spending all your life taking everybody else's advice, and mind you, girlfriends who don't even have marriage yet, taking their advice, more people who are like wet behind the ears, if I could just be frank. I'm just being honest. Girlfriends mean their best, but they only know what they know. Like, you know what you know. Maybe you're depending on your parents, but your parents have like back home mentality, and it's not necessarily Islamic aligned. And you know what? You're not really liking the way their marriage is, and you've seen your cousins and your aunties and them, and they don't seem that happy. So we're taking that advice. I'm not saying to not respect parents. I'm saying do your due diligence. One thing that we make sure is that we're completely committed to women and teaching them how to be independently strong in their identity in the modern world. And if you're lacking confidence, it's because you're lacking clarity, and that clarity comes from knowledge. So I hope these 5 questions have helped. Like I said, they're just scratching the tip of the surface. If you want more below, we have the free download. And I will see you in the next podcast. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.